Yo guys, and welcome back to the land of junk, absolute paradise. You might recognize this International Fleetstar 2000 from the secondary channel if you watch that, but we just did a tour the other day on it and really looking to find a buyer since they're getting ready to ship this off actually over to Turkey. And yeah, I'd like to see this old girl stay in the States and somebody do something cool with it. But we're gonna do a will it start, because I finally got permission from the owner, so he's a little bit difficult to deal with. He can't hear, he's completely deaf, and you have to write everything down. And as I was saying in the other video, if you want to come in his yard, he actually charges, and a lot of these cars he's asking well over scrap value, so that's why they're kind of all still here. But anyway, this truck, you know, I don't really have a use for anything this huge. I just thought it'd be a really fun to fire it up and maybe run it through a couple gears in the yard and potentially find a buyer that's going to be able to, you know, put it to use and bring her back to her former glory. So the story I got off of him, he's actually driving by me right now. He kind of just does loops around this place and making sure nothing bad's going on. But he said this used to be a bus recovery unit down in the city. Couldn't really get a definitive answer on how long it's been sitting, but I figured we'll just hook some batteries up. Yeah, here's our battery box, and you know, give her a go. You glance at the wrecker unit on it, and I mean, this would be a really neat truck to fix up and do something different with. Probably take the wrecker body off, honestly. So one of the bigger problems under the hood is that, well, you can see I had some kind of front end collision, and this is just kind of sitting on there cute. But the rad is completely unbolted and has a huge puncture. And it almost looks like somebody was trying to steal the copper rad because it's all unbolted, and then they cut all the hoses on the top. Fans not seized up, and well, yeah, so that's a bummer to see. Now, I don't know what year this is, but the Fleetstars, I was reading they were made 62 to 77. It's somewhere in there, and based on the pictures I was looking at, this has the largest engine available, the 855 cubic inch 14 liter NTC 335. And you know, I could be wrong, this could have had a swap at some point, who knows. You diesel guys would probably be able to recognize better than me. So I'm gonna get this cleaned up a little bit in here. We'll check some fluids, and I guess I'm not gonna bother trying to move anything around it. Yeah, let's just go with the most important and check the engine oil. See what we're looking like. Ah, yeah, just in between the marks, black as it should be. Yeah, this metal is all hit the crank down here. Might as well get it right out at this point. It's junk. Well, I see why they gave up. I can't even get this thing out. It's so heavy. At least we get the crank pulley clear of everything. Maybe have to come back with the wrecker later, try to scoop that. So yeah, climb over this pile of junk now, because that's easier than trying to move all this stuff. And as I was shown in the other video, this fuel cap is off, which leads me to think that there's water going in. I'm hoping this valve is shut. It's not. But we're gonna go ahead and shut that one. Oh, well, maybe the valve just doesn't work because it's just spinning. Let's see if there's any water in the bottom of this filter. That's just dry or clogged on the inside. You know, I like to try and do preliminary checks, but I guess when it's just a junkyard truck and the guy says he doesn't care, I mean, what the heck? Let's throw a battery in and crank it. I just can't do that. Let's at least do a dip test on these tanks, see what's in them, because we're going to cause more problems for ourselves if there's water on the bottom. Oh wow, this one's like just about full. Oh, I didn't even see that. Yeah, this has got this is 80% full, and that smells delicious. Nice heating oil. It smells like a burn test on the bottom of it, and you see it's not very flammable, and I do hear some crackling, popping going on. There you go, that valve works. Originally I was thinking this was an outlet, but that's actually an inlet for the other tank to feed this one, and then our outlet comes from the top. So usually this has a tube going down that sticks off the bottom, hopefully an inch or so, as to not pull water. I think it's stupid to start up this engine without replacing the fuel filter, especially when you see the cap open. But we're gonna go ahead and do that anyway, because I was just talking to him. He's like, yeah, just throw a battery on, fire it up. Judging by this tray, looks like it takes 3 batteries, and I would say wired parallel based on what I'm seeing, but we'll find out. Let's just start with one Optima and do the quick tap test. No sparkage, that's good. You got a key and everything, guys. Nada. Unless there's another start switch somewhere. Got our headlights, emergency shut off, push drive road, pull for slippery road. Got the defroster seized up, lights, and then the auxiliary throttle. Ooh, that was getting water in it. Well, this ain't gonna come out of here, is it? Got it out of the way enough, and all I wanted to do was try and get to the starters, just make things simple. So yeah, it's all, we got one big thick primary coming off, and we can run outside now, send power that, and that should crank her over. And I should have just looked a little bit harder because the starter solenoid's mounted right up here on the firewall, which I'm sure doesn't work, but it needs to get power on this side and then signal here from the starter switch, and this energizes, well, sends power to the starter solenoid down below. So we're neutral, got a fat gauge wire heading over to the battery. Let's hear the starter. All right, so I was just looking it up, and these are supposed to have 12-volt starters, but that sounds really weak for one Optima battery. So let's see what the good all start all has to say about this. This is designed for doing semi engines, 10,000 starting amps. We got that hooked up. Bear in mind that Optima is fully charged, and you've seen that start other diesel engines like the 6V53. Now, as far as fuel, this is the injection pump, and I think it has electronic solenoid up top, so we'll try energizing that, see if it works. And this connects to our pedal, gas pedal. Let's try giving that a little juice. Oh, nothing. And you can tell we are hot on this wire since I just sparked on ground. So that solenoid might be bad, but we'll go ahead and give it a crank first. Oh yeah. Woo! That makes such a world of difference. So you really do need, I mean, clearly it's a 12-volt starter. And look, I'll take this off now and let's listen to the difference. That is a world of difference. I'm saying clearly this needs 3 batteries to start, which he mentioned that before. He's like, you'll never get started without 3 batteries. I'm like, let's see what the Optima has to say about it. And there's one fully charged 1,000 cold cranking amp Optima. Can't even budge that 14-liter engine. That sounded like a really healthy crank. So let's see if we can get this presumed fuel solenoid to wake up. Got power hooked to it right now. And the reason I'm assuming the solenoid's not working is, well, we didn't see any smoke on cranking, and when I touch this wire, it's not sparking at all, so no continuity through this, unless we're not making good contact on that terminal. We do have a hot wire, as you can see. Sorry, I didn't mean to make full contact. I was just reading up on these. It turns out that screw on the back, you can manually open the fuel valve. I'm gonna go ahead and try doing that. Got the stubby flathead in there, and this is gonna yield good results, I think. It's a little tough to break it loose, but by the way, this is the Cummins PT. See the PT next to the Cummins? That's the fuel system on here. The way this normally operates is there's a spring-loaded plunger that closes the fuel off when you remove power from here, and then when you send 12 volts, energizes the solenoid, and the magnetic, well, the force of that overcomes the spring pressure. Yeah, we're full in the filter. Let's see what this stuff looks like. Oh yeah, yummy. All right, the fuel filter's bypassed. We have the hose hooked up to some diesel. Let's see if it'll self-prime, and if not, we'll try bleeding it. pump is still not passing. I guess the next step would be taking the valve off. So we got one of a few things. This main hose going back to my auxiliary tank has got air leaks in it. Or I was reading online, I just cleaned this off with a wire brush and took this plug. I was reading if a pump's been sitting a long time and they go dry, you can fill the top of it with diesel. So I'm gonna try that. And then if that doesn't work, we'll go ahead and take our fuel valve off, I guess. Oh yeah, she's thirsty. Dude. I think at this point I'm gonna take the fuel solenoid off and let's just twist in the line. We got the old Honda 2000 fired up, the NoCo Genius Pro 25 and Craftsman battery charger. That's it, Die Hard actually, from Sears, and got the Goodall on charge. And while that's going, I'm gonna take this little plug out right here. 7/16 or 11 millimeter with some persuasion. The reason I took that plug out is because this flare nut is seized to the line, and I want to apply a little bit of heat. And, you know, we don't want pressure building up in there, blowing the line out or anything in our face. There it goes. Move it up. With the plug out and line off, let's do a quick crank over, see if anything trickles out of there. Looks like nada came out of here. Okay. I got it off. So now I want to know, does fuel shoot out of this when I crank over? Because if it doesn't, then we don't even have to worry about trying to fix that valve. I just viewed what you guys saw, and it didn't look like much of anything was coming out of there. By the way, I did want to show you that I set the fuel tank up high now, so we have instant prime. I mean, look, you pull this plug out and it's just shooting out. So we definitely have, this thing's full of fuel pressure, and for some reason it's not coming out past there. But I suppose that's not saying a lot, because this port is probably meant for high pressure, not high flow. Let's check the flow across this valve now. We'll put 120 psi. No, this is not letting anything pass it. All right, so this is the screw right here that I backed off before, and apparently that's how I read you can bypass these. But well, you wouldn't believe it, I turned this screw in and it turns out it was already bypassed, because look, now it flows right past. Oh man. So somebody already bypassed this before, and you know, this is what you get when you don't know what you're working on and you don't know what people did before. And I mean, I try to disclose all these mistakes, but that's a bummer. Okay, that's back on. Could have saved a lot of time if I researched more on that earlier. I suppose it makes sense. You turn the screw in to push, because the solenoid goes that way more than likely to open the flow, and you push the screw in to open the flow. Oh yeah. Let's fire this thing up now and see if she runs. I tried putting in the gear to creep us forward, but I think the clutch is probably stuck together because it doesn't want to go into gear. And I mean, I would start it in gear, but then, you know, we don't even have a fuel shut off, so that could be fun. That's probably why the front end's all smashed in. There we go. You know, as I'm sitting here admiring this rig, I'm thinking, who knows, maybe one of you guys or your father used to drive it, or you might recognize it. Like, I'm seeing New York DOT numbers, Mass or something on here, Mass, I don't know. Ohio PUC proof, or like, I'm probably reading everything wrong, but then right here, I was hoping that might take more off. Pennsylvania truck lines, that's, I guess, I don't know, we're playing Jeopardy here, guys. Pennsylvania truck lines, maybe? I'll have to look that up a little bit, but that seems to be the last company that was, yeah, Truck Lines Incorporated. Last company using it. And I'm really admiring this homemade wrecker on the back. It almost seems to be like, if you look at all the joints, and I know you guys can't see that well here, but this is old school tech. You know, this thing was totally hand built, and I mean very, very sturdy as well. Now, of course, there's been many repairs back here, like this section's broken off and been welded a dozen times, and somebody welded this hook shut. Maybe they had it pop off once or something. But yeah, it's quite the truck. I guess I should probably pass on it, though. It's way beyond my scope of capabilities with my current setup at home. And you know, if like the cooling system was intact and all that, it'd be another story. But a few weeks later, and we're back out here. I actually have a buyer lined up. A guy saw it on the secondary channel, and he really loved the truck. He's out near Detroit, Michigan, and he's got quite the collection. He wants to add this to and potentially restore it. So he plans to come out in about 2 or 3 weeks from now with his lowboy, and we'll hopefully get this up on his trailer, no problem. I'm back out here this evening to clean some of the crud out of the bed, make it easier for when he shows up, and maybe we can get it driving too. I don't know. I'm thinking let's try to fire it up again and break that clutch free. Good stuff here, actually. Got this bridle chain here. Look at this old steel chock. Kind of cool. And now, a quick word from the sponsor of this video, HelloFresh. So they are a direct delivered to your door food service where they send you meal plans that have everything you need, minus like maybe olive oil and salt. And then you just need some cookware to be able to fire things up. Now you might be thinking, oh, why don't I just go to the supermarket and get my own ingredients? Well, the cool thing about this is they give you the right amount. You don't have to go get, 6 pounds of beef or a whole sack of potatoes to cook one particular recipe you wanted to cook, and then end up with, eating potatoes for a week because you want to use them up. With this, you get a different meal each night, and they have 35 different recipes weekly, so something for everyone. To be honest, my favorite part of this whole thing is how fresh the ingredients are. Like, they taste way better than what I get over at the supermarket. But don't take my word for it. Go to HelloFresh.com and use code NNKH21 for 21 free meals plus free shipping. I understand the code didn't work the last time we did an integration for them, so it does work now. I double checked it, and now let's dive back into the video. We're gonna try firing it up using only the good oil. So I had the JF Egwo for the starter solenoid. Let's see if this will fire it up. No starting fluid. Woo! Well, it'll crank it, but it's definitely weaker. Keep in mind, it's the high's in the 30s today, so I think the low's going down to 20 something tonight. Well, that does a darn incredible job cranking it over with these cold temperatures, but it wasn't starting because it turns out the fuel hose has cracked going further up. So I gotta cut it back here or up toward the front, because that I mean, not surprising, that hose is just crusty as all can be. With that crack, it was just sucking a bunch of air in. All I'm gonna do now is see if we can get this rolling with the winch on my Tundra, because again, I just kind of have to get this prepped for moving. Got her hooked up to the old trusty Badlands winches. This is the OG, original one that came out. It's also been in 10 feet of water in the river. So let's see if we can, hopefully these brakes aren't locked up. Remember, the rear brakes are caged, so no need to build up air pressure. Hopefully she rolls. Ooh. Now she's dragging my truck. Now I get the brakes applied. Let's see what that does. Well, we're gonna have to run a snatch block on that. Seems the brakes are locked up. Soft shackle around the front axle to a snatch block. That should do it. Or it'll probably just drag all 4 on the truck. Well, let's see what we got. Come on, or it's gonna rip. Yeah, it's dragging those brakes, surprisingly. I got those applied really hard. I got shut off in low range. Nothing. Just dragging the old Tundra. Alright. Oh, what was that? I think the soft shackle just slipped on the front axles, actually what happened. Definitely gonna have to get a bigger truck. Wish I still had the bobbed 5-ton, be nice. I'll find out which brakes are locked up. I'm assuming it's the rear, but jack the front and see what's going on. These are the chambers and everything's actually free with them, but I wanna jack it up, make sure these fronts spin. This one's free. Yeah, this side's free too. All right. So there is a slight inspection port on these rear brakes, and it looks like the shoe is contacting the drum. I think we're going to be in good shape on these rear brakes now. You can see I cut this rod, and you know this needs new chambers anyway, so that's not a big deal. I didn't damage anything that shouldn't be replaced already. And getting pretty much a hair between the shoe and the drum now, which those look like a ton of meat on those shoes. But just to talk about how these work, I've never really worked on many air brakes, but what I do know is that these have two systems essentially. Your emergency brake, when you shut the truck off and has no air pressure, and you relieve the air pressure from the system, there's a big spring in here that applies the brakes. And so when we talk about caging the brakes, which I think I mentioned earlier, you put these special bolts in here and that pulls the spring back. Well, I don't think these were fully caged. Like, I could have just tightened this down more and I think we could have released the brakes, but I actually want to keep these bolts for my toolkit for future vehicles and trailers that we might have to move. But anyway, when this truck's in normal operation, air pressure gets sent to this emergency brake to relieve, you know, push this spring back and relieve the brakes. And then when you normally operate the brakes, you press, air gets sent to this chamber, and that's what applies the brakes. So hopefully that explains it. Now, the front brakes don't have this style. There's no emergency brake on the front brakes. It's just when air goes to them, it applies the brakes. Anyway, that was a bunch of talking, but you see we got this side cut as well, and there's a look at those shoes. So now we can try to get this thing budging. I'll show you what one of these bolts look like too on here. Okay, all right, there we go. Now we just got to get this bolt out of here. It's like none of this bolt's sticking out on the end. I might have to get a magnet. Oh yeah, it's gone. Yeah, let's get a magnet to get that out. How about this side? This one's a little bit longer. Can't get the socket on it yet, but all right, yeah, this one has like none of this. So how the heck do we get this out of here? There we go. So that is what the special bolt looks like. And you would think they'd make them a little bit longer so they're easier to get in there and hook on the back, but you pretty much need some needle nose pliers. Oh, and keep these in my toolkit. All right, with those brakes addressed, the Tundra should be able to pull this forward now, no problem. Let's see. There she goes. You're seeing it break loose. Beautiful. All right, so that can be easily winched onto a trailer now that it's rolling. But I want to try putting it in gear and see if we can get that clutch to maybe break loose. I'm going to put it into gear and then take a big stick to press the clutch, so that way we winch it forward, that can maybe break the clutch free. Don't know what gear it's in, but we got the clutch pedal depressed, so here we go. I guess let me see if this engine's rotating over. Yeah, engine's rotating. So the next way to break it, what would we do? I guess I could try barring the engine. Yeah, a breaker bar on there with a 28 millimeter. Yeah, I know it's gonna be standard, but I only have a metric set, and you guys know they cross over most of the time anyway. 3/4 19, 5/8 16. Anyway, let's give that a go, see what happens. There goes the bar. All right, hold on, what's happening? Yeah, it's just dragging the whole truck forward, all fours, and there go the wheels turning. All right, so that clutch is just dead locked up, guys. That's unfortunate. You guys see we had that clutch pressed all the way down to the floor. This, I could get a little bit more adjustment out of this, but it's already, I get plenty of clutch throw with that. It's a pretty sweet little tire iron. I think I'll keep that. So at this point, even though we could drive this truck, it's just not a great idea since there's no brakes, there's no way to shut it off, and there's no clutch to press in to disengage the engine. For me, I think I'm pretty much at the point where I'm gonna let this guy come pick it up. We'll get it winched up on the trailer and call it a done deal. Now, I was talking to him and he said he didn't care if I took this radiator for scrap. So I'm gonna come back with the wrecker tonight and grab that since it was too heavy for me to lift out. And then I'm thinking maybe I'll pump the diesel out of these tanks too to be able to use for my home heating oil system, since, you know, I have those 3 bulk tanks. This tag, that's getting ready to rust through completely. And back over on the driver's side, I bet you that's exactly why you see this big patch, because it got rusted beneath the tank tag. And somebody did a really nice job welding that. Look at that, that's beautiful. But I bet you it rusted through behind the tag, and that's why they had to patch it. Actually, this looks like a big patch on the step too. Check that out. They did a nice job with that. I wonder if from stepping in and out all those years it rusted through. Let's see what the other side looks like. Yeah, over on the passenger side, completely factory. No seams at all. Somebody did some nice patchwork. Yeah, I gotta mention one thing. You guys down south are always knocking the cold, but there's some benefits to come with it. Like, see, you guys would be slipping and sliding all over this in the mud, but once we get a nice freeze, everything just locks up solid. You can park wherever you want and don't have to worry about it until the springtime. Come over here and ask Turbo and he'll tell you how awesome the winter is too. He's ready to dodge on me, but he's got his winter coat on, good to go. Go. Do we have any guesses what this radiator might be worth? It's a copper core with steel ends on it. I'm gonna go at least 70 bucks. I don't know. I figured it was worth coming to pull it off, and I'll cover a little bit of my time tonight since I'm not making any money on this old junker. Anyway, let's get some heating oil now. Or diesel heating oil, same difference. Oh yeah, red gold, baby. Look at that. Really underestimated how much was in those tanks, because I'm already at 5, 10, 15. And then there's probably about 10 between these two, so it's 25 gallons. And I'll have to come back. It's got some big tanks on there. All said and done, I ended up filling this entire 55-gallon drum with diesel. Was gonna pump it right into my basement tanks, but those are basically full right now. So this will have to sit till springtime. And yeah, I siphoned all that 55 gallons. I probably should have brought the pump with me. It would have been a lot quicker, but oh well, you know, it's probably $200 worth of the diesel or heating oil, same difference. So on this radiator, totally scrapped. Somebody sawzalled it and it's all smashed in. This is kind of weigh every bit of 150 pounds. But I'll take some measurements for the new owner, and then I'll probably keep these end caps in case he wants to rebuild it with a new core too. But let's scrap that core today, see how much we get. Yes, there's the top section, and then the copper radiator on the inside. And it's a shame because this was still in really good shape. Well, minus the fact that it was hit, but that could have been repaired. I mean, somebody saws on through it. That's not really repairable. So yeah, that's how old heavy-duty radiators used to be built. Nowadays, they're just aluminum cores with plastic ends crimped onto them. They build it as brass auto radiators, $1.70 a pound. That was 105 pounds, so 82 bucks. It's not bad. Cruising around the old DeVals on a rainy day. There's just something magical about this truck. Like the way this seat is and your butt fits into it. Oh, it just feels so right driving this thing. I ended up popping that fuel solenoid back off, and if we could get this to work, I suppose I'd feel a little bit more comfortable about starting it in gear and trying to drive it. So let's just give this a quick try with some higher voltage. This is 15 volts on the Gulu jump pack. And just the ground on it, and it should be just apply voltage to here, and no click, no nothing. What if I use this terminal here too and see? I mean, there was no wire to that originally, so I don't think it mattered. But oh, well, we are getting contact now. Maybe we just had to run a ground to this the whole time, or the previous person that, you know, bypassed it could have ran a ground to that. I suppose let's see if this thing operates if we put the ground on there. Right now this is in the bypass mode. The screw's turned all the way in, so it just free flows no matter what. No way to shut the truck off unless you get out. Of course, if you started in gear and then you can't get it into neutral very easily because the brakes are dragging, then that would be tough. Yeah, works fine. I just needed the ground put on it this whole time. Usually these get the ground from the case, and it's normal to see a bung open, but geez, well, let's put this back on the truck and wire it up so we can actually shut it off when it starts. We're back out here, got the solenoid on, fuel line fixed, system purged, should fire right up. It's a little colder now, it's 16. I think the feel like it's close to 0 tonight, but let's fire it up. We'll start fluid. Sounds good. We'll let it warm up for a minute, and then we'll try to restart it in gear, I guess, and hopefully not run into anything. At least now we have a way to shut it off. Bend back that fan too. We couldn't even close the hood before because it was smashed up against the crank pulley. I don't know if you could see that, but the starter just doesn't have enough to bump it forward. I'm thinking the brakes might have froze up though, because we had a bunch of rain and then jumped into a deep freeze. And I'm going to try to winch it forward a little bit now. Had to bump it over with the winch tension on there. Oh, no, that back wheel's not spinning now. There we go. Now it broke free, so had to whack it with the hammer a little bit. And she's rolling good. So as you can see, that's a no-go. I mean, it's an extreme amount of load. We are putting this start all to the absolute craziest test ever. I'm gonna put another battery in here and then hook the start all up too. And this thing's still holding 71% battery life after all that ridiculousness of starting in those pulls. Let's drop a big battery in. Plan B, I'm under the truck at the bell housing inspection port and sprayed some lube up in here on the clutch because those splines on the transmission input shaft are pretty junked up, and if the clutch friction plate can't slide on there, then it's never going to break free. Now, more than likely, it's the plate rusted to the flywheel, but I'm going to go press the clutch in with a rod and then come down here and wail on it with a hammer, try to get the brake loose and get some more lube on there and such. Look at that in the casting. Made in USA. Keep in mind, these working conditions just aren't super ideal. Probably should have brought some cardboard because I'm like rolling over glass here. And it's just, I have to keep going to my truck to warm my hands up every so often. I think I'm gonna call a wrap on this video. There will be an update. It might go on the secondary channel if it's just a matter of winching this up on his trailer, his low boy. But I want to try to get this drive in. So with these cold temperatures, it's kind of silly. I mean, the battery jump packs are dead now. The tools are just, everything that gets wet just freezes immediately with the wind chill. But I want to try to get back out here, and if we can get it running in gear, then that engine torque might be enough to break the clutch free. I did go ahead and grease the splines on there and shoot PP blast in that clutch housing, trying to not like soak the plate or anything, but whatever. I mean, if we get the engine running and we can put it in gear, press the clutch, and then jam the gas back and forth, I think that'll be enough to break the clutch free. But anyway, that'll be in a future video. So if you want to see more on this truck, drop a comment down below. Definitely stoked to see it go to the new owner in Michigan. Hopefully, you know, everything works out with him getting out here to pick it up. You know, you guys know how the winter can be. And yeah, there was quite a few rookie moves in this video, some things that were overlooked and whatever, but you know, that's just how it goes sometimes. So hopefully you guys learned a thing or two. Yes, it runs. Yes, it has a ton of potential, and if I had a bigger property, I'd probably keep this truck. So I'm done rambling. That wraps it up. Thanks so much for watching the video, and I will see you guys in another one very soon. All right, no nonsense, know how. Over out. Hey guys, guess what? It's snowing outside.
Gus is like, why do you have all that dandruff, Turbo?